Hello, I'm Anthony the Pup Dundas, and you're listening to the weekly Dartscast 174!
Hello, and welcome to the weekly Dartscast in association with Darts Corner. It's the first of two episodes this week. It's our Lakeside special. I'm Alex Moss, and joining me as always, it is the Darts statistician himself, Burton, DeWitt. We only spoke a couple of days ago, but how are you doing? Still keeping well?
Yeah, just it's Thanksgiving here in the U.S., so I'm enjoying a day off from work, a day to talk about darts. What more can a man ask for? I'm doing excellent. How are you, Alex?
Good to hear it. Yeah, I'm doing all right here, thank you. And as we mentioned at the end of last week's show, we've got lots to bring you this week. If you're looking for our review of the Players' Championship finals, reaction to the draw for Ali Pali, that will be in our next episode later in the week. But this first offering of the week is all about the Lakeside, and 20 months after the first edition, we've now got the second WDF World Championships. They're finally here. The championships get underway on Saturday afternoon. But for you, what are the main storylines that we should be following at Lakeside this year?
Are there any storylines we should be following? I mean, I will talk about it throughout this show, but I'm having a tough time getting all that excited for this event. And, you know, I think the prestige of the WDF World Championship can be summed up by the fact that the two players who made the finals last week in one of the regional qualifiers, the Western European qualifier to the PDC World Championship, were both playing that final to determine which of them would get to avoid playing here. Thibaut Tricol ended up winning that match, and as a result, he qualified for the PDC World Championship, opening up a spot for John Scott in the field. But that's because what would he rather be doing? Would he rather be playing in the WDF World Championship or the PDC? Obviously the PDC, even if you were going to be the number 3 seed in this, even if you had a very good chance to end up making more money. If he had a very good chance to make the semifinals or the final, which would be more money than qualifying for the PDC World Championship. But just that chance of being in the PDC World Championship is worth it. It's worth playing in that because it means more for your career than even winning the WDF World Championship, which you came within a set of doing a year and a half ago. I think the biggest storyline is just how much attention, if any, this is going to get. And again, this is stuff we'll talk about throughout the show because we'll talk about the limited television coverage. But, you know, how big are the crowds going to be? How much media attention will there be? I am thinking there won't be much. Most of the attention will be on the women's event, where Beau Greaves is trying and likely to defend her title. The 25,000-pound carrot of winning that's something, and that makes sense from her point of view to play this because she would have to have won a couple of matches at the PDC World Championship. Now, she could, but it's more likely that she wins the WDF World Championship than winning 2 matches at the PDC World Championship, just based on how dominant she is and based on the fact that her 2 biggest challengers, Fallon Sherrick and Makoto Suzuki, are playing in the PDC World Championship. You know, that is one of the storylines. Can Beau repeat, or can Lisa Ashton win a 5th, or can someone else sneak in? But there's just not that many storylines that are positive in this field. You know, when you're looking at some of the players in the men's event who haven't played darts all calendar year, other than maybe going to Q school in January, because they knew they were already in this field, and why bother chasing points? If that's what's getting you in the field, that's not all that good. It's a sad, sad state of affairs, and I don't know what more to say. Maybe the storyline is the second WDF World Championship going to be better than the first, but is the second WDF World Championship going to be the last?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I've been looking at social media, and obviously we're big darts fans. That's why we do this podcast. But if you were to speak to the casual fans and even hardcore darts fans, I don't think there is the same amount of buzz around this tournament going into it as there was 20 months ago, April 2022. I think there was more excitement back then about this championship because it was the first one, and we were getting to see how the WDF would host a world championship for the first time after the demise of the BDO. But fast forward all this time, we have got the second one. It has come around, and I think the storylines, the main ones really are quite similar to last year, because last year it was about the ladies event, their World Championship coming back, and Beau Greaves, okay, she wasn't a huge favourite for the tournament, but I think she was the favourite going into it, even though she hadn't won all the titles that she's won. Fast forward the best part of 2 years later, she is a huge favourite for this event. And I think the men's tournament, again, I think it was similar to the last one. Going into this year, it does feel like it's a wide open tournament. There's a lot of names that you could pick out from that list and go, they've got a serious chance of winning it. And it's exactly the same last year. I think that's how we looked at it. We didn't really know how the tournament was going to play out, but just focusing on the ladies event, and we will touch on it in more detail later. But I think the interesting thing for me to follow is going to be that bottom half of the draw, because you've got the likes of Eileen de Graaf, Lorraine Winstanley, Lisa Ashton, Kirsty Hutchinson, Hungary's Veronica Ihash, who was actually the only player to take a set off Beau Greaves at Lakeside last year. And for Lisa, it is that comeback to Lakeside. She's been in a lot of World Championships since then, the O2 for that last BDO one, the seniors, the PDC. She's had a tour card for 2 years as well, but she's going back to the place where she's had a lot of success winning those 4 World Championships in the past. And then you've also got 2 former finalists in Lorraine and Kirsty, and the high seeds, Eileen de Graaf. Could she make her first World Championship final? So I think the bottom half of the ladies, that's where I think the excitement's going to be for this tournament, is going to be who's going to make it through that half of the draw, who's going to make it to the final. Will we get a new finalist in the ladies event? As for the men, I think we're going to see the storylines maybe unfold during the tournament. And we saw that last time out with Neil Duff going all the way to win the title, the first world champion from Northern Ireland, and the player that you mentioned, Thibaut Tricol from France, the first Frenchman to make a world final. So maybe the storylines are going to play out over the 9 days. Maybe we could have a first American make the final or even win it. Maybe a first Belgian winner in the senior ranks. We've seen Dimitri van der Berg win 2 world youth titles in the PDC, but in this men's field, we've got Andy Barton's the top seed, the favourite with the bookies. Could he bring a first senior world championship home for Belgium? So I think with the men's, we are going to see new players make a name for themselves, players that we've not heard of. But going into it, I think like you, we do fear for this event, how it's going to be received by darts fans. And at this moment in time, not a lot of people are talking about it, which is a shame.
Well, that's one of the reasons we're talking about it. But one thing people definitely are talking about is Beau Greaves, whether it's for the WDF World Championship or just in general. She has been an absolute revelation over the last 18 months, and that is why she goes into this field as the 1-5 favorite with the bookies to defend the women's world title. But can you see anyone stopping her next week?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to make a strong argument that someone other than Beau Greaves walks away with the ladies' title next week. And that's not a knock on any of the other players in the field, but just a nod to just how good Beau Greaves is. And you go back to that last World Championships, and Beau went in as the favourite, one of the favourites. We knew the quality that she had. She'd won a bunch of titles, but she had nowhere near the pedigree or the haul of trophies that she's got going into the tournament this year. You look at the last 20 months, she's won the world title, she's won the women's match play in the PDC, she's won 20 women's series titles, she's won virtually everything there is to win in the WDF system, and she averaged 92 in that, winning the final at Lakeside last year. And you probably expect her to average similar, if not more, this time round, because her game has improved. And you just go back to her last tournament, the Grand Slam, 2 weeks ago now, and she was taking on 2 of the PDC's top 16 players, taking them to last leg deciders. She beat the last European Tour champion 5-1. And okay, like any player, they're not invincible. There could be a scare or 2 on the way. And I look back at her run last year, and I mentioned Veronica Ihash in that first game that Beau had in the second round, went to that third set. And the first couple of games for her, they are going to be that short race. It is still the best of 3 sets, and it doesn't give you much time to settle. And you look at potential opponents for her in that first game, Lorraine Hyde or Laura Turner, 2 players that we regularly see on the women's series. Laura Turner, she's made a pair of finals. Lorraine, we've seen go deep in some of the events as well. And whoever comes through that game, they are going to have a win under their belt on the Lakeside stage. They're already in the tournament, so that will give them a bit of confidence. The quarterfinals, potential opponent, Almudena Fajardo, someone that we've spoke about on the show in the past, a player with a lot of potential. She's made the World Masters final last year, losing out to Beau. She's also that week won through the qualifiers to get to Lakeside, the first Spanish woman to qualify for the World Championships. So over that short race, they could spring a surprise. And then just looking further on, semi-finals, you'd likely say it's going to be Rhiannon O'Sullivan. Again, a very tough opponent, someone that's beaten Beau several times in the past. And then a potential final against someone like a Lisa Ashton or a Lorraine Winstanley, Kirsty Hutchinson, someone like that. So there's going to be some tough obstacles in the way. She's going to have to perform, but she's going to need an off day, I think, or one of her opponents to really hit top gear for her to be going home without the title. And the bookies, they've got her as the big favourite to win it, and it will be no surprise later when we make our predictions that I am tipping Beau to go back-to-back at Lakeside and become a two-time world champion.
Well, I won't give away my tip quite yet, but there's a good chance that I'll double the jinx on Beau Greaves when we get to the end of the show and make our predictions. But the question's not, do I see someone stopping her? It's, can I see someone? And I think the answer has to be yes. She isn't invincible. And she's been more invincible, if that is a word, than we've seen in quite some time near the end of the year. And maybe part of that was because the motivation disappeared. Where was the motivation to go to the women's series that last weekend if you've, one, already run away with being top of the order of merit for the season from how dominant you were leading up to that, and two, if you had made up in your mind that you weren't going to be playing in the PDC World Championship, you were going to be going to the WDF World Championship. Maybe that was what it is. Maybe some of the pressure did get to Beau. Maybe she just had a bad weekend. She is, after all, human. It's easy to forget that when we see her winning 50-some-odd matches on the spin. But she's not played as well against fellow women over the past few months as she had for the previous year. Granted, she played phenomenally at the Grand Slam this week, coming within a leg of advancing to the knockout stages, coming within a leg of topping her group, and was not an easy group by any stretch of the imagination. But she is beatable. And, you look, potentially, you'd expect her to get through the first match, although both Lorraine Hyde and Laura Turner have the game if Beau is off her game to beat her. You mentioned Almudena Fajardo, the young Spaniard who potentially waits in the quarterfinal, another player who's very good. Paula Murphy's dominated the U.S. circuit over the past few years. Anka Zylstra, haven't seen as much of her, but she's now up returning more to action after not playing as much during COVID. They are players who, if Beau is not on her game, can average in the 80s, and that can be enough if Beau is not playing in the high 80s, low 90s that she routinely does. Obviously, she also plays it higher than that. Dita Hedman pushed her in the WDF World Cup just a couple months ago. That's a potential semifinal. Rhiannon O'Sullivan has beaten her in the women's series. Those are potential stumbling blocks in the semifinal. And if we get to the final, the person who waits is Lisa Ashton. And Lisa Ashton's playing the best dart she's played in a couple years as of late. She won a title, not at the most recent women's series because she had to withdraw from that due to illness, but the previous one, the most recent one she played at. And in her last 44 matches, she's averaged above her season average in 26 of those. She's averaged above Beau's seasonal average in 5 of her last 12 matches in women's series. Beau might be averaging 4 points higher over the course of the year than Lisa Ashton has, but in her last 12 matches, she's outperformed Beau in 5 of those. That's Beau's seasonal average, that is, including a win over Beau Greaves in the quarterfinals en route to that title, a tournament where she also beat Fallon Sherrock. So Lisa Ashton is playing good darts right now, and best out of 7 sets, Lisa hasn't had to do that before, but she's played best out of 5. She's gone the distance before in matches. She'll know how to lift her game over that course if she gets there. Beau absolutely can be beat, but it's going to take either a really good effort from someone or Beau being off her game, or more likely a mix of both.
Well, we've just spoken about that. Let's hear how the world champion's feeling. Here's our chat with the reigning and defending WDF Women's World Champion, Beau Greaves. I'm pleased to say we're joined by the reigning Women's World Match Play Champion and the WDF Women's World Champion, Beau Greaves. Thanks for the time, Beau. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you, Loss?
Doing good, thank you. And we're talking just over a week before the Lakeside gets underway, the long-awaited second WDF World Championship. You head back there as the defending champion. How are you feeling as you edge closer to that first game of your title defence?
Yeah, it's come around quicker than I thought. Obviously I didn't realise it was just over a week, but yeah, I'm practising well and confidence is up there, so we're definitely looking forward to hopefully playing well and, like I say, winning a few games.
Well, we'll come back to Lakeside later, but let's rewind back to when we last had you on our show and you were chatting with our producer Hannah at the Winter Gardens after winning that Women's World Match Play. You had some time to reflect on the win after that, so how do you look back on that victory, winning what is, I guess, the PDC's big ladies event on your debut as well?
Yeah, it's brilliant. Obviously I had such a good season on the women's series, and it was nice to sort of not cap it off, but just keep up there. And I don't know, I think when I think back to it, I didn't play that well, and neither did any of the other ladies, but it's one of them, I got over the line, and it's a great achievement for me, and really happy to have won that, and just give me confidence going into the next thing. I look forward to going back next year.
Definitely. And you said to Hannah you'll probably put the trophy next to the fridge. Is that where it ended up, or do you have somewhere else for your trophies, because you've won quite a few of them over the years?
Yeah. I think it was for a little bit, and then I think my mum moved it. I'm one of them, I'll just go over, I'll put them anywhere in where my dartboard is, and then she'll go in and move them about and stuff. But if I had my way, I'd put them all away, just leave it, make it clear. But she wants them on show, so I'll let her do what she wants for them.
Fair enough. Well, a week after that, you were back in action for the women's series. You continued that winning run. You won all the titles, doing the clean sweep straight after the match play. Did that surpass your expectations, or were you confident after winning in Blackpool that you could keep this run going?
Yeah, I think it's one of them with when you play on the women's series, obviously I go into them weekends wanting to win them all. Obviously I know a few of the other ladies do, but I don't know, I think I obviously just came off the back of the match play and then was just on a high, and I just sort of ended up winning them all. And to be fair, I can't really remember them, but it's just nice, you know what I mean? That's what I do all the time. I play darts, and obviously I want to win everything I play in, so it was nice to sort of get them wins and obviously keep building up the tally of how many I've got now.
Yeah, up to 20 Women's Series titles. You've also won the WDF World Cup in the last few months as well. But the last Women's Series weekend, surprisingly, you left empty-handed. You've set the bar so high the last year. So how did you reflect on a rare weekend without a title? Yeah,
it was one of them weekends where I felt really good. I was playing well to a point, and then I got there, and then I just had a lot of darts so close on the wire, and I just had no luck. I think when you play darts, you need a bit of luck, and I was just on the end of, some defeats that, I just took it on the chin. I can't win them all. Obviously, I was a bit gutted. I don't enjoy losing, but I think in a weird way, it was sort of I didn't win any comps. That was my first week of not doing so now I think it doesn't really matter. There's not that monkey on my back of thinking, I've got to win. It's sort of just, I got beat, I went home and just started practicing again.
Yeah, not long after that, it was the Grand Slam. Just over a week since you played your last game. It was your debut in the event. When the draw came out, it looked like a tough draw to call who was going to get through between yourself, Nathan Aspinall, Damon Heta, Ricardo Pietrexco. What was your reaction when you saw who you were paired up with?
Yeah, I was practicing, and then I got a message, the draw's out, because I'd obviously been waiting all day for it. And then I think when it came out, and obviously I saw it, I thought, real. It was one of them, whoever I played, I wasn't going to be dead excited, or I wasn't going to be dreading it. I just thought I'd go in there with an open mind and just try and do my best. And then I think when it came out, I relaxed a bit more, and then you just start thinking ahead of, obviously, your first game, and it was quite close. I played on the Saturday, didn't I? So it was, it's definitely nerve-wracking when the draw comes out, but once it came out, I was settled, and I was sort of ready for it then, and went on to have a good weekend.
Yeah, definitely. You pushed Nathan all the way in a decider in your first game. The next day you pick up a win in impressive fashion against Ricardo, your first win against the men on a PDC stage. What was that moment like, getting over the line 5-1 against Ricardo?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's one of them. I think when I played Nathan, I wasn't that relaxed. I think I felt like I was in fast forward and I couldn't really, just play the game in a relaxed way. I was sort of rushing and then when I played Ricardo, I felt really good and I felt like I was in control of the game, and obviously he didn't play anywhere near he can do, but I think that's what, with the ladies, we have to take them chances when the men aren't playing to their standard. We have to think, right, you've got to jump on them and try and get the win. So it was nice. I practiced so well that day and I was looking forward to it, and so I went up and I just sort of didn't really get my foot off the gas, and then I just ended up winning. Like I say, it was just nice. It was nice obviously to get a win, and he was in some good form at that time as well. So yeah, it was nice after. I was a bit gutted after the game with Nathan, so it was nice to pick myself back up for that. And you know what, something to remember and look back on as a happy moment.
It's a historic day as well, because later that day we saw Fallon Sherrick win her group game, which made it the first time we've seen two ladies win matches in the same PDC major event. So it's another milestone for the ladies game. You were part of this one as well. What does it mean to be part of that history?
Yeah, it's great. I think with Fallon being in that as well, I don't know if Fallon feels the same, but I think it sort of takes the edge off us both. There's not just one lady in it, and we're both capable of winning games. It's nice to sort of just have obviously more ladies in the mix of challenging men and sort of getting a few wins of that. It's nice. And I didn't really think too much about the history of it all and all that. It was just nice to play well, and like I say, Fallon played well as well, and it's nice to have two ladies, like I say, just win a game and be close to getting through.
Yeah, it's great to see. And the last group game then against Damon, it was a thriller that goes all the way to a last leg. You were in front before Damon pulls out a 1.64 finish, one of the checkouts of the year, then that 1.30. What's going through your head when you see him hit those big finishes, when you're so close to getting further ahead?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I was left on a 2 dart, I think, and I stood behind him, and obviously as soon as the first treble 19 went in, I thought, oh, this is it. And obviously he took it out, and so it's one of them moments where I didn't really think too much of it, and then I think the next leg I didn't hit anything really, and obviously that leg where I missed that dart to win, that was a bit. I think my standard drops definitely, but I still thought I could have won it, and I think maybe I should have done. I didn't have a very good setup. I think it was 1-2-6, and then. But yeah, that's darts, and he played better than me. He deserved to win, and I think the more games I play, then the more experience I'll build, and maybe next year or in years to come, I'll be able to, just sort of keep my head a bit and hopefully go to win games like that, where you're battling it out. But it was great to be a part of, and I didn't disappoint myself in any way. I played quite well and I was relaxed, and I think that was the main goal, was to just enjoy it and be relaxed on stage, and I was, so I wasn't too disheartened losing that game.
Yeah, good to hear. I remember you saying to Hannah after the women's match play, it was borderline enjoyable as you were trying to live up to the expectations that people set for you. So what was the Grand Slam like then? Because you're up against two of the PDC's top 16 players, also a recent Euro Tour winner. Did you feel pressure to perform, or could you play with a bit more freedom, not being the favourite to win?
Yeah, I think it's always different playing against the men and playing against the women. I know obviously Fallon first playing the men, and I can sort of see why, because you're the underdog, you're not expected to win, so you just go up there and you just throw in and you're hoping for the best really. I think when you play against the ladies, you're trying, you don't want to get beat and you don't want to lose certain games, and it's hard. But obviously when I just went up there, I just didn't really have any expectations for it. I was there, it was just guaranteed experience and time, 3 games as well, because I remember after Ali Pali and the match where I'd come off the stage and I'd say, oh God, I hate the throw, I hate the board on stage. And I think actually playing well on the board on stage, and then getting close and just playing well and feeling relaxed, it's all just a bonus, and just, like I say, just builds up towards hopefully doing it again someday. And it's nice to just go up there and not really have any expectation for yourself, and just to not really care.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be more opportunities to come, and we've got to mention the decision that you had to make recently, the PDC deciding not to allow players to play in both the PDC and WDF World Championships. When you first heard the news, what was your immediate reaction as someone that would have to make that decision?
Yeah, it was one of them. It was like, I knew it was coming. I think I wasn't shocked at all, but as soon as it came out, like, I knew what I was going to pick. I didn't announce it straight away because I just thought, what's the point? I'll just, milk it a bit. But it was just... I remember as soon as it came out, I said to my sister Bobby, I was like, Bob, I said, you know what I'm going to pick. I know what I'm going to pick. I said, I'm not going to tell anybody yet. I said, I'm going to wait till the last minute. But, it's one of them. It's at the end of the day, like, with this women's series and the way the ladies' darts is going, I'm fairly certain I will get back to Ali Pally, and be able to do that full time at some point and all that. But, I think I am a ladies' dart player. To me, Ali Pally is like men's competition, and I just prefer playing against women at the minute. That probably will change in years to come, but, it's like, I loved when I played Lakeside last year. I absolutely loved it, and I just felt like I'd enjoy it more, and I just wanted to go back. And that, it's just a really simple reasoning behind it. I just preferred it. I enjoyed it more, so I just chose that.
No, we can't argue with that. And you joke there about milking it. I'm guessing your phone was getting loads of messages, people asking you what your decision was going to be, because you didn't come out straight away and say which one, but you knew which one you were going to go for.
I know. I remember going to the women's series actually, and people were asking me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not doing any. I'm not playing. I'm not doing any. I'm gonna start my own world championship. I'm gonna do this, do that." And they were like, "What? I probably believe in me." And I said to Bob, I'm like, I think they're all taking this a bit seriously. So I had to stop at some point and stop winding people up. But it was great. I just didn't want to come out straight away and just pick it. I just thought, I'll just leave it a bit, and then when no one cares, I'll say it. And then it just was what it was. And then bit of not a nice decision to make, but I think in the long run it was the right one.
Before we've got a couple of listener questions, one from someone that you'll know very well, but we've got to say as well, we had Matt Porter, the PDC chief exec, on shortly after you announced your decision, and he respected your choice. He said it wouldn't affect any future opportunities. You obviously were in a PDC event, a major, last week at the Grand Slam. Did anyone speak to you, maybe ask your thoughts on the decision?
I don't know. I don't really think people care in a way. I think it would have been nice to sort of, off the back of the Grand Slam, playing Ali Pally, and because you never know that experience I've got now, I could have gone on to win a game or whatever, but, it's just sort of could have, would have, innit? That at the time I made the right decision, and I don't really think anyone's bothered, and they shouldn't be. Do you know what I mean? It's my life. I'll pick what I want, I'll play what I want, so, but people are always nice to me, and, respect the decision I've made, and life goes on, doesn't it?
Definitely does. Well, we've got some listener questions. As I mentioned, the first one coming from Dita Hedman. She says, Beau, thank you for your contribution to care in the community. Will you still play pairs with me?
Yeah, I ain't going anywhere, Dita. I've said this to her though, she doesn't need to ask me them questions. I always say I absolutely love playing with her, such an amazing woman, and yeah, she's absolute magic, and as long as she's not retiring, I'll still have her.
Great to hear. And the next one comes from Gabor. I'm sure it's something that you've been asked a few times as well. Your plans for 2024, are you going to be going to Q School, or are you going to be trying the development tour, the challenge tour? Have you got any plans for next year yet?
I don't really know. I'll probably say how Lakeside goes, and then I probably not Q School, but then again I keep changing my mind. I don't really know. Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea what I'm going to do with darts or whatever. I think the development tour would be a good one to do. I think it improved me, but I don't really have that urge to do it, so I don't tend to do it. I'm so laid back, I'm just not bothered, that I just like to play in what I like to play in. But I think if I'm going to be a serious darts player, then I should probably make them decisions. But at the minute, probably I don't really know.
Fair enough, and I think off the back of that as well, a lot of people, they respect the approach that you're taking to your career. So slow and steady, you're taking things in your stride, and some people probably forget still only 19 years old as well, so there's a lot of years ahead for you in the game. The approach that you're taking, I think a lot of people say you're doing things right at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been the same. I don't let people convince me otherwise, and I just don't listen to anybody that I don't need to. I've got my family. I've got a level head on my shoulders, I think. So it's just about enjoying it and just basically getting what I can from it and, setting myself up. I think people don't realise that, I live at home. I pay £100 to my mum. I pay a phone bill. You know what I mean? Like, I've just got the time now to sort of play what I want. Nothing serious, save my money up, and then, when the time comes to sort of think, right, I've got to do this professionally now, then I'll do it. But what's the point in forcing myself to do something that I don't really want to do yet?
No, it certainly makes sense, and we'll finish up with just a few looking ahead then to Lakeside. And it's been a year and 8 months since you won the title. You become the youngest women's world champion. That's a long time, I guess. But what have been the highlights in your time so far as world champion? Any moments stand out for you?
I don't really know. I think it was really nice. I went to a comp somewhere and I actually felt like a proper celebrity, like in a proper weird way. It was like everyone was coming up to me, like, taking photos. I was trying to tell everyone, it was just proper, like, made proper smitten. And I was like, this is so weird, because after I won Lakeside, I didn't think about it like that. And, I've especially, like, did last year and after Lakeside, I've made some proper good friends and people to trust. And it's just really nice that I've got that bond with people now. And, people still see me as this youth player, and I've never really changed. I've always been the same. Whether I win Lakeside this year or not, it doesn't really affect me whatsoever. It's just, if I play well, then I know I've got a good chance. But if not, I move on from it, and I don't crucify myself for losing stuff. But do you know what? It's been absolutely amazing to be 19 and to travel everywhere, and people have so much respect for me and stuff, and it's really nice. I'm so lucky, and I absolutely love the life I have.
And you'll obviously go back to Lakeside as the favourite, but there's some tough competition in there. Lisa Ashton back in the World Championships this year, Rhiannon O'Sullivan, to name a few players. How important do you think it is for the ladies to back the WDF system, get to Lakeside, because this is still the only Women's World Championship on the calendar?
Yeah, that's the thing as well, with that decision I had to make. It was, it's like the PDC match play, obviously that's not a World Championship for us. I know obviously the WDF have had some really good moments and some bad moments, but, at the end of it, they have a Ladies World Championship, and that is the main goal to sort of get to and work towards. So, and that's the thing, obviously with the PDC Women's Series, I think, there's it starts again in March, and they're every other month, and there's a few weekends, but, that WDF is where we sort of play most of our darts, and where we have a lot of different stuff to play in, the opportunity to play for England and all that other stuff. It sort of adds up to being at that World Championship, and unfortunately, that's why I think we all lean towards that still a little bit, because that is where WDF and PDC, it's just so different. And I think a lot of the ladies prefer WDF for the weekends, and it's not serious, and it's a nice time. So I completely understand why some of the ladies might not go to the PDC, and they might choose a WDF weekend if they've got time off work. I completely get it, but let's say Lakeside is a ladies' world championship, and I think we don't want it to go anywhere. We always want to keep playing in it, and just keep improving ladies' darts.
Yeah, fingers crossed it'll be here for many years to come. Beau, it's a pleasure to get you back on the show. Thanks very much for taking the time, and wish you all the best for your title defence at the Lakeside next week.
Thank you, love.
Thanks again to both for joining us. Now turning our attention to the men's draw in the WDF World Championships. And Andy Barton's the top seed, is the favourite, but it does look to be another wide open men's event this year. So who do you see as the main contenders for the title?
I mean, we'll start with Andy Baetens. He's the top seed here for many reasons. He has been in the WDF circuit over the past couple years, the best player. Just this year alone, he has won 7 ranking titles. The Czech the Czech Open, the Belfry Open, the Bruges Open. He also won the Austrian Darts Open, the Pacific Masters, as well as the Croatian Masters and the Danish Masters. It's been just a phenomenal year for him. And yes, he hasn't played all of everyone on the circuit, but by having gone to all the different events, he's played close to everyone. He's beaten the reigning world champion in that Australian Darts Open final. And he beat him by 10 legs to 2 in that match, averaging over 90. He averaged over 90 in every single match in the Australian Darts Open en route to the title. He's played at a level above almost everyone here, and he's been very, very difficult to beat. But he's not the only one. And you'll hear from Danny Lauby on the show. Just recently, Danny Lauby, he didn't win in Ireland, but he made the semifinals in one event. He made the last 16 and the last 32 in the others. He won the pairs. He's playing good darts, and he was averaging high 80s into the 90s in almost every match in Ireland over the course of the weekend, at least singles match. I don't have the averages for the pairs, but who cares what the average was in the pairs? He won that title with Anthony Allen. Lauby's playing into good form. We know when he's on his game, he has a lot of potential. I do think he's a player that will eventually win a tour card, if not next year, sometime fairly soon. He keeps improving, but he's coming in good form. But then again, so is Jelle Claesson. He won one of the 2 titles in Malta just a few weeks ago, made the last 16 of the other. It's been an inconsistent year for him, but when he's firing, he's firing. And with a title recently under his belt, he's going to go in with confidence. He's never won the WDF World Championship, but he has won at the Lakeside. He has won a world title at the Lakeside. He has beaten the second most successful person at the Lakeside in World Championships in a final. There's no Raymond van Barneveld in this field, as good as Annie Baetens may have been so far this year. Maybe this is Jelle Claesson's turn for a second World Championship. Those are the 3 I see as the main contenders, but, there are others. It is a wide open field. Mark Barilli's had a few good runs this year, but I want to talk about one of the debutantes as well in the field, going in as a seed. And it's weird thinking that he's a debutant, but Peter Machin, even though he had won the World Trophy in 2017, a year after making the finals on debut in that event, to use the Australian pronunciation of the word, he's never played in a World Championship before. We haven't seen him since 2018 in the World Trophy, but he did enough to qualify for this as a seed, and when he's come over before, he's brought his best game. It's been a while, but we know he can win, and I'm curious to see how he does. But there's, it is a wide open event, and I also have to mention the reigning world champion Neil Duff is here as well, so we'll see how it goes. But those are just some of the names that I could see going all the way.
Yeah, some good picks there. Some of the names that I had down here as well, and we could be here a while listing all the names from the field that we think have got a good chance of going all the way and winning the title. And looking at the odds as well, you have got Andy Baetens as the favourite. We go from one tournament where we've got a 1 to 5 favourite to someone who's the favourite at 9 to 2, then a bunch of players at 8 to 1, 10 to 1, 11 to 1, and so on. And it's probably more difficult to predict this event, price this event up, because for a lot of these players, yes, we know of them, we know what they've done in the past, but what is their form like coming into Lakeside? Because not all these players are playing in the same tournaments against each other. Some of them are playing in a lot of the WDF events. They're travelling around Europe. Some we see more often in the seniors or the Modus League, and some of the players we just see play locally back home. They play the WDF events in their own country, and that's what's got them into this field. And you've got at the top of that list Andy Baetens, the number one in the men's rankings. And for a lot of our listeners who mainly follow the PDC, his name is one they'll remember from the Euro Tour. Okay, it was back in May, so over 6 months ago, but his home Euro Tour in Belgium, where he made it to the final day, and some impressive performances there, beating Andrew Gilding with a 98 average, and then in the last 16, narrowly losing out to Luke Humphries, 6-5, averaged 102 in that game. So we've seen him perform on big stages this year and impress, and even in the WDF system, I think he's won. You mentioned some of the titles he's won. I think he's won 8 ranking events in 2023, including the Australian Open, which is probably the biggest one that he's won in that circuit, and a runner-up at the Dutch Open as well, which takes a lot of doing getting through a field of thousands of players in that event. And even looking at his run at Lakeside last year, caught the eye, again, another 102 average in the last 16, ended up losing out to Beau, who we've mentioned we're not going to see in the field this year. But beyond the top seed, there's a lot of names that we could mention, some that you mentioned. You've got the reigning world master, Wesley Placier, who very nearly missed out on this event if he'd have beaten Thibaut Tricol last weekend. You've got the defending champion, Neil Duff, who his form has been up and down. We've not seen him dominate the circuit in the last 20 months, although it would have been difficult to have dominated for that period of time. But you can't discount him considering how he played last year to win the title, and it did include that epic comeback against Jim McEwen from 3-0 down to win that 1-4-3. Some other names, some that we've seen a lot more on the Pro Tour this year. I think of someone like Chris Landman, who his warm-up for Lakeside is going to be Minehead, the Players' Championship Finals. Jelle Klaassen back at Lakeside for the first time since 2007 when he lost to the GOAT. The year before that, he did become the youngest men's world champion, and he is the third seed. He is the Dutch Open champion from last year. So he's had some success in recent times. And then just lastly, 2 of the Americans in the field, they could meet in the last 16. Leonard Gates, we've seen him clean up in the seniors this year, winning 3 of the 4 titles on TV. A late call-up for the Lakeside after all them spots became available. And it could be Danny Lauby in the last 16, who you're going to hear from later. So he's someone that's playing an awful lot of darts, based himself here in the UK for a while now, and he's desperate for that big breakthrough to come in one of these big events. And who knows, maybe it could come at Lakeside. But a few names that we've mentioned, and I'm sure there's going to be some other names that we've not mentioned that could just go and show us what they can do and come through the field next week.
Yeah, and I had Leonard Gates as the first name on my list, but I had scrolled down and I missed it, so I didn't even discuss him. But fully agree with that, and it's, there are some really good players in this field, and we're gonna start by hearing from one of them. Here is that top seed, Andy Baetens.
I'm pleased to say we're joined by the number 1 seed for the WDF Men's World Championship, Andy Baetens. Thanks for joining us, Andy. How are you doing?
I'm very good, and you?
Doing good, thank you. And we're talking just a week now before Lakeside gets underway. You head back there as the top seed, 8 titles under your belt this year as well. So how are you feeling ahead of the tournament starting on Saturday?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I do it now for 5-6 months, very good. So I have good confidence that I have a good run at Lakeside.
Well, we'll come back to Lakeside and your 2023 later on, but as this is the first time we've had you on our show, let's rewind back to the start for you in darts. When and how did you first get introduced to darts?
I've played the first time darts with my dad, as I am 14 years old. Well, then I played competitions where I live, and so tournaments and bigger tournaments. So now I'm top of seed, so I'm happy to international also.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey so far from starting out to where you are now. Before taking up darts, being from Belgium, did you compete in any other sports, any individual or team sports before darts?
Yeah, football. I played, I think, 15 years football. Then I quit football and concentrated everything on darts.
So with the football then, how far did you get in that? Was it just playing at a local team, and what position did you play as well?
Yeah, just local team. Normally I play goalkeeper.
Very nice. So what was it about the darts then that got you hooked and made you want to play more?
Yeah, I won a few tournaments at my locals, and other people said, "Oh, you're very good. You must do something with it." So I played bigger tournaments. I won also a few tournaments, and now I'm number 1. So I'm very good, I think. Then I start international playing. Now I won, I think, 17 titles. So very nice to play. I have lots of friends around, also international friends, so it's good.
Yeah, you mentioned 17 ranking titles you've won either in the BDO or what is now the WDF, and the first of them, 2016, was the Czech Open, a title that you recently won for a fourth time. But what did it mean to win that first Czech Open, your first title back in 2016?
Yeah, I think it was my first international tournament at Czech Open, and I won.
You were there with Geert, De Vos, and other friends.
So I was a little bit nervous to play, but I won the tournament. So that was a good start for the WDF PDO in time.
And you get a taste of it.
And then I get a taste of it for a bigger tournament and more tournaments. So now I'm here.
Yeah, it's the first of many titles that you've won, 3 more titles in 2017, and that helped you qualify for the Lakeside for the first time. You went there at the start of 2018. What was it like turning up to Lakeside for the first time to make that debut?
Yeah, I saw it earlier on TV at the BBC, and I think, that will be nice if I could play there. So in 2018, first time at the BDO, I was excited. I have a good run to the quarterfinals. So now I will back as number 1 seed. So we will see now.
Yeah, you mentioned getting to the quarterfinals on your debut, and you very nearly went further. You just lost out in a last set to Scott Waits. So how did you reflect on that first World Championship? Was it tough to get over that defeat, having come so close?
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. I missed 6 matches, I think, against Scott Waits. But
he was quickly over it because he got himself together for a new year of training and new tournaments, and that sometimes helps. Sorry.
Yeah, it's been pretty full on with the darts these last few years. We've also seen you go to Q School first couple of years, 2019, 2020. What were those experiences like going there to try and win a tour card, and how much did you learn from those first couple of years going to Q School?
Yeah, I learned a lot with the bigger names, played at the bigger names, more games, longer games. So my experience is good now, more experience. So I hope will be this year my year for playing at Lakeside, and next year I'll play again Q School. So normally I will play PTC next year.
Definitely. Well, not long after that 2020 Q School, we see the world shut down with the pandemic. What was that time like for you? Did you take a break from darts, or were you one of the players who took up online darts to try and keep playing when there were no tournaments on?
No, I do not quit. I played online a little bit, but much training. I've normally practiced 1-2 hours against the pandemic, so that did me well good.
Good to hear. In 2021 we see the tournaments come back and you win 3 more titles. You're back at Lakeside last year for the WDF World Championships, and it was another run to a quarter-final. Again, a close defeat to Thibaut Tricol, who goes on to reach the final. How did you reflect on your second trip to Lakeside?
Also the same as the first one. Learned a lot. Missed also a few doubles to win it. But Thibaut is also a good player. He reached the final, lost the final. So I think I'm experienced as
that he learned more than he did before.
And let's get on to other highlights from last year as well, because we saw you make your debut on the European Tour over in the PDC. It was your home event in Belgium, and we've had a few Belgian players on the show, and they've said about how all the big events are now shown on TV in Belgium. So what is the dart scene like there now, with it being shown a lot more on TV these days?
Yeah, it's not normal here now in Belgium. I think you can play each day if you want now here in Belgium. And Saturday, Sunday, around the country is 8, 9, 10 tournaments per day you can play now. Sunday, I think 20 tournaments per day. It's not normal now in Belgium.
Excellent. And do you play darts every day then, or do you take a few days off?
Now I train a lot the last few weeks for next week. So I'm not being still to play darts. So, but not many tournaments. I also work. So.
And this year been one of your busiest, most successful in darts, and one of the highlights, I'm sure, was the Euro Tour in Belgium in May, getting to that final day, beating Andrew Gilding, averaging 102 against Luke Humphries and pushing him to a decider. So what did that run mean to you?
Yeah, that was a very good feeling that I get. First day I beat Jeremy Watimena, second day I beat Andrew Gilding, second day all the way against, third day all the way against, I think now for the moment the best player of the world. That was a good run. I was very good 3 days, so that was a happy event for me.
And Luke Humphries on stage after that game said that you're a top 32 player, and he said that he told you to go to Q School next year. You said earlier that the plan is to go back there next year, but what was it like hearing someone like Luke Humphries, who's high up in the game, give you that praise on stage afterwards as well?
Yeah, that was very good for my confidence also. At such a big name. So my confidence is good. Now I'm forgetting to Q School also, to heading to Lakeside also. And also I hear Luke Humphries each week. We send a message together. So it is good.
Great to hear. And we mentioned you've won 8 titles this year in the WDF, including the Australian Open. There's been a few weekends where you've done the double. You've won both titles. One of those times in Denmark, that put you to number 1 in the WDF rankings. So do you think you're playing your best darts of your career this year? And if so, what has clicked for you?
I think this will be my best year. I've proceeded in the darts. I lost, I think, within 1 point from Q School this year. I have a lot more training now, and it's good. I think for myself it's good that I lots of training now, so we will see this year.
Certainly have been a beast on the dartboard this year, and that is your nickname, the Beast. So where did that nickname come from?
Yeah, I have no nickname. So I hear around with friends, with my girlfriend, and they said, Jackie also, they said, maybe you must pick the name Beast from the East. And maybe, yeah, Beast, it's good, yeah. So Beast it is.
Excellent. And also this year you've signed up with Bulls NL. You've recently had some new darts released. What's it been like working with the guys at Bulls so far, and what changes did you make to your darts when you got that new set made with them?
Yeah, Bulls is a good company also for me. They are kind, they are very good. Understanding also, my darts is actually the same when I started with my darts. So they're not very much different.
We'll finish up looking back to Lakeside, and you're going to find out who you're going to play Saturday when Sebastian Białecki and Scott Marsh play the opening game of the tournament. 2 tough opponents either way, but what are your thoughts on both of them?
Yeah, it's a tough draw for me. They are both very good players. I think it's the first match of the day on Saturday, I think. I'm going to not see the match, won't arrive Saturday evening at Lakeside. So we will see. I have faced Scott Marsh at Lakeside in 2022. I won. I have 2 times faced Białecki. Against Białecki 1 time at the Q School. I lost. I missed a few doubles against him. So we will see.
And a lot of people have got you down as the favourite to win the men's title at Lakeside, and I'm sure after the year that you've had, you're feeling confident as well. So how do you try and stay level-headed about the task in front of you? Because it's a long week and there is a lot of quality in the field that you're going to have to beat to win the title.
Yeah, I said next week I'm going to train a lot this week. Not too much thinking that I'm number one seed. So we will see. Just be normal, just drink a few beers, just talk with friends, with family. So
sounds good to me. And we've seen Dimitri Vandenberg. He's won 2 World Youth titles in the PDC. But if you were to go all the way at Lakeside, you'd become the first men's world champion from Belgium. What do you think that would do for the game of darts in Belgium?
Yeah, I think that will be great for Belgium also. Maybe young talent is coming now in Belgium. There are a few good young darts players in Belgium. Belgium also have a few good darts players. But I think must I win the title, I can be maybe an example for the young guys, for understanding them or training them or so. I think it will be good if I maybe be a world champion for Belgium.
And lastly, for you personally then, if you were to lift that trophy 2 weeks from now when we're talking, what would that mean to you to be able to call yourself a world champion and then go into Q School off the back of that next year?
Yeah, must I be a world champion? I think my life is gonna a little bit change. I think I have done a lot of interviews for me, I think. And also, I think must I be a world champion? Must I be a world champion? Then I think even a week, I don't.
He's gonna need a week to process it in his mental being, because it's gonna take a while for him to recognize that it's true.
Well, we shall see if it happens. Andy, it's a pleasure to get you on the show. Thanks very much for taking the time, and your partner as well for helping with the translation, and we wish you all the best for Lakeside and what is to come in 2023 as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks to Andy for joining us this week. I'll make a little fun of myself because I've now tried 3 times to ask this question. Hopefully 3rd time's the charm. And if not, you will never know this, because on the 4th try, I'm definitely not going to tell you that I've made so many mistakes asking this question. But the Lakeside World Championship will be shown worldwide this year on YouTube. But as we talked about earlier, only potentially the last 3 days to be picked up by the television broadcasters in the UK. How much, assuming that is the case, will this harm the event not having someone like Eurosport involved in the broadcast?
Yeah, I think it really could. And it's news that we've known about for a few months now. We've seen a few announcements from the WDF about their World Championships, and it's going to be on YouTube. The whole tournament going to be available free worldwide. So if you've got an internet connection, you are going to be able to watch it. The WDF, they have said they are hoping to have that broadcaster on board for the final 3 days, the quarterfinals, semi-finals and finals. And for their sake and for the tournament, you hope that they do, because it might seem like a small thing when you look at it. We are going to get to see every single dart for free wherever you are. You can watch it on YouTube, and in 2023, streaming's bigger than ever. But at the same time, I do wonder what the production value is going to be like without having that broadcaster on board. And I think back to the World Masters from last year, which didn't have a broadcaster either. It was shown on YouTube and we all got to watch it, but without the production, it kind of felt like any other WDF event with a stream, like one of the Opens that are held throughout the year. And for your World Championships, your showpiece event, you want to have that big production behind you to make it feel bigger and really get across the magnitude of the event. And I think back to the 2022 World Championships, the first one for the WDF, and it was all on Eurosport. You had the presenter, her name escapes me, she does the Premier League football on BT. You also had Paul Nicholson, Tony O'Shea, other people involved in the commentary. John Rawling was there, and Chris Murphy, and a lot of what makes darts such a great sport to watch on TV. It's not just for us, but for the casual fans and sports fans, it is the production that goes behind it. And I worry that will get lost without having the broadcaster. And when you can say you've got a Eurosport or a Sky Sports ITV covering your event, it does add something to it. And at the time of recording, this year's championships, it's not going to have that. So fingers crossed, by the time this episode comes out, there will be an update. Hopefully the WDF have secured a broadcaster for the last few days, which will add to it. But to go from last year having Eurosport cover all 9 days to at the moment nothing, you can't help but feel like it is a big step backwards for the WDF and the prestige and how this event is going to be looked and received by darts fans watching at home as well.
Yeah, it just takes something away not having this event on television. Now, it's been quite some time now since the BDO World Championships was on BBC, but having that ability to reach a large audience, a channel that everyone in the UK, at least who has a television license, gets, was a phenomenal boon to the BDO. And it was a little carrot that was worth playing the tour and going around the world, or at least around Europe, to make sure you qualify, because you get to be on the most accessible to the casual fan stage that there was because of that BBC contract. And even when that ended, it was still on Eurosport for a couple of years, a channel that many people would still get through their through whatever broadcast thing they had. Now, to not have television accessibility, to not have that ability for someone to flip on and watch it, that is a big loss. YouTube is a replacement to some extent. Everyone who has internet access has access to YouTube, and much of sport and much of television is now transferring onto streaming services, YouTube being one of the leading ones. But television is still key. You don't hear the PDC talking about moving events off of Sky, moving events off of ITV in order to have an online-only stream. Yes, okay, the Players' Championships are only streamed, but those aren't majors. They're not talking about doing that with the European Championship, at least yet. They're not talking about doing that with the World Championships. They might in the future. It might be in the future that those events are on Hulu, those events are on Apple TV or something, or on YouTube, if the money is there to transfer them over to it. But it's not yet, and even when it would be, it's because the PDC has the value. The WDF doesn't drive value. The WDF isn't getting paid by YouTube to stream it. If anything, they're paying YouTube to do so. But I don't know what more to say. Hopefully it will be on television. Hopefully there'll be a way to get it to a bigger audience. The only people who are going to watch it if it's on YouTube is because they know it and want to watch it. It's not going to reach anyone else. While if it's on Eurosport, it might. I think it does hurt the event not having someone like Eurosport involved. I think it hurts it greatly. And I think as a result, it's going to lead to fewer people even knowing about this, let alone watching it.
We'll be back in a moment to make our predictions for the men's and women's events. But before we do, let's hear from another player that's going to be playing at the Lakeside for the first time. Here's our chat with Danny Lauby Jr. I'm pleased to say we're joined by one of the debutants in this year's WDF World Championships, Danny Lauby. Thanks for joining us again, Danny. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Doing good, thank you. Great to get you back on. And we're talking a little under 2 weeks now before you make your debut at Lakeside. You go in as the 6th seed, entering the second round. How are you feeling as we edge closer to the tournament, which starts just a week on Saturday now?
So excited. I feel good. I'll have a modus next week kind of leading into it, so that'll be a good kind of preparation. But no, I'm buzzing for it.
And it's been a little while since we first had you on the show. It was with my colleague Burton right at the start of 2021. So we're talking the best part of nearly 3 years later. How would you reflect on these last few years being based for a lot of time here in the UK?
Oh, it's been very transformative, I guess is the best word I can think of. Definitely being here has elevated my game. I've obviously met like a tremendous amount of great people, and it's definitely helped. Like, it's helped so much. Like, my game's definitely, I'm in a more confident, comfortable place. So really looking forward to what the future has in store, you know.
Definitely use that word transformative for our listeners who maybe don't know. You are from America, so what has it been like for you adjusting to life here in the UK and also at the same time spending so much time away from home?
Yeah, it does suck being away from home. I do miss everyone back home a lot, but this is what I'm doing now. I don't think I'll ever get fully adjusted to the amazing weather you guys have here. But no, it's I think I'm adjusted fine. Again, I've met a lot of good people going to local comps and the practice partners, and it's just everyone's been very welcoming. So I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't think too many people move here for the weather. They probably move here for the dart scene, though, and it looks like
that's what it is. Yeah, exactly. Best darts in the world. Yeah.
You have certainly thrown yourself into everything darts-wise that the UK's got to offer. You mentioned the Modus League, Challenge Tour, the ADC, Super League, local opens, you name it. You've probably been there at some point in these last few years. So how does the grassroots dart scene here in the UK compare to back home?
Darts it's just better here. I'm not slagging off US darts by any means. I mean, you saw what Stoey Buns did this weekend. So darts in the US, there's so much talent, so much quality there, but the culture's not the same. Like, I'm going to a comp every night of the week here, whether it's an ADC vault comp or like a money comp on a Saturday. And I know I can do that because I don't technically have a tour card at this point in time, and that'll change when I get my tour card. It'll change as far as doing all the local comps. But man, there's so much action here, and we just don't have that back home. And the US is so big that it's just hard to find quality comps with quality players, and let alone a good Super League or like similar to Super League here. And so it's just filthy here with all that. So I'm very fortunate to have that.
And a few highlights that we've seen recently on your social media. We've got to mention one game your opponent had 20 left in a decider. You take out the 170 to win it. You had a 9-darter, I think it was last week as well. Some special moments when those shots go in.
Yeah, that was actually my first 9 in an actual comp too. And I've hit some in practice. I've missed loads, but that was the first one in like an actual. I was fortunate enough that my manager with Jamie Vidaz, he was actually he was videoing it, because we always joke around here when I'm practicing. You know, I'll hit a 1080, hit 2 1080s, and I'm not thinking about it. But he's like, "So you got to go for it." And then I developed just like, you missed the 9. I always missed the 19 on the 141 on the 9, and for some just random reason, that was spontaneous and went 15, 36 and hit it, and that ended up being my first one in an actual like proper competition live. So that was and that 170 also, that was just like very just like surreal for me. I was like, wow, didn't see that. I mean, you got to think you can check it out anytime, but like, that was a pretty big one.
Good times. And one event we have seen you prosper in these last few years is the Riley's qualifiers for the UK Open. You won one last year, you won one this year to qualify for the FA Cup of Darts. What have those two experiences been like over in Minehead, getting another taste of a major event?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wish I would have played better, but Minehead's class. So that whole event is just... I haven't been to that many majors as a player, and that one, Butlins, is just... Minehead's just amazing. That's a great venue. I hope to do better on that stage next year.
Definitely, yeah. We saw you in the UK Open this year, an event which I'm sure you were disappointed to miss out on this year was the US Darts Masters, also the North American Championship. You obviously played the first one that was held at Madison Square Garden last year. How tough was it to be at home and not there this year?
Oh, so frustrating. I lost, I think, the qualifier that got me was the one against like Jake McMillan, who was Canada. He's at Modus this week, actually, playing pretty decent. I think he won the group on Wednesday. But it's frustrating. I kind of feel like one of those. Like, I don't even I don't watch darts the same. I look at highlights and scores, but I can't even watch it the same way anymore, I guess, because I'm like, I want to be there so bad, and it's just frustrating. So like, I didn't really even watch most of the U.S. Masters games. I did tune in to see scores, but it's kind of like when I was playing music live. I haven't gone to that many concerts because I'm like, that's my job, and I'm like, I want to be the one doing this, and it's, might sound a little thick, I guess. It's one of those things. It did suck to not be able to be on there, but it looked like it went well, and I'll hopefully make it right and be there next year.
No, it makes sense, and well, fair to say that you made up for that disappointment a week or so later, getting the call up for the Players' Championships, making a quarter final, pushing Michael Smith close in that quarter final as well. What did that run mean to you?
Oh, that was my first. That was the debut for me, wasn't it, that day? And I beat a bunch of great players that day. Literally, that was my first time on playing a pro tour event. I've done some more since then, obviously, and I feel like I've done pretty well, played really well in all of them. So I'm really looking forward to regularly being on that circuit. I think I'm ready for that now. So.
Yeah, great to see you involved in that, and in fairness, the last few years we've seen you go on some deep runs on the Challenge Tour, finals, semi-finals, quarter-finals, to get that call up to then play on the Pro Tour. What was it like walking into that room, being one of the 128 players?
It was just, honestly, it just felt like another day at the office. I already knew quite a bit of the guys there, just from other stuff, and I have had a decent amount of stage experience, and it really felt like another day at the office. The first one was very it was awesome. It felt great, but that subsided pretty quickly because it's time to work. It felt more like this is where I'm supposed to be. I should be here. This is what I'm doing here. I'm obviously not in this country for the weather, so this is where I'm supposed to be. So I'm trying to do everything I can to make sure that that's where I'm at all the time. But until then, I'm taking advantage of all the local comps and being able to have more stage practice on Modas, and then hopefully get a world title in a few weeks,
Definitely, yeah. We'll come on to the Lakeside in a moment, but closer to home, we saw you back in the winner's circle on the CDC Tour, a brilliant late push from someone that you mentioned, Stowe Bunce. He took the spot at Ali Pali, but you got to play in all the CDC events this year and the Continental Cup as well. How much has the Tour progressed these last few years in terms of the standard across the board?
Oh, just ridiculous. It's been progressed so much. The standard is, what the CDC's doing is they're really building. It's what they set out to do, to build a future world champion. That's the caliber of people coming out of there. Look what Stowe did. Look what some of these people are doing, and I wouldn't be at the level I'm at to start out without the CDC. That's what kind of really got me moving in a sense, that next level. And now my next level is what I'm trying to do here, in the PDC and everything. But no, it's the level of darts over there in North America is definitely getting filthy. It is. It's just like I said. It's so vast, and they don't have it's not the same culture. And the fans, it's most of the dart fans over there are darters. Where here it's different. It's just people dress up and have just a different culture. If it was like that, like a sporting event over there, you would have that's what they need, and it just hasn't happened. I'm not really sure what the right angle to take to make that happen is, but that's where it's at. But as far as talent, there's a lot of it. It's getting better.
We should talk about Stowe as well. I was his guest for the first night of the tournament, so it was good to see that the quality of his guests improved, because you were there for a couple of nights later on in the tournament. What a debut for him to reach the quarterfinals, and his first time over here in the UK as well. What did you make of his run?
Oh man, it was spectacular. Yeah, him and I are sponsored by the same shirt manufacturer, Dirty Jersey Darts. That's who makes all my shirts, and he even flew over from New Jersey to support him too. And it was great to see him have success. I was really happy for him. I mean, I wish I could have been on there too, but hats off to him. He made history. He played great. I'm a big fan of his. He's a great guy too. Him and his wife both. So I'm very happy for him. He had a great run.
Well, let's get back to you then. The Lakeside, the WDF World Championships coming up very soon. You've played at Ali Pali twice before, but this is going to be a debut in the WDF version. Much like last year's event, it looks to be quite a wide open again field. No real clear-cut favourites. So how are you feeling as one of the top 8 seeds on debut entering the tournament?
No, I feel great. I feel really good. I mean, I feel confident. I should win. The last huge I would say the Masters, Ireland. I was in Killarney for the WDF event recently, but the Dutch, like the Masters, I was semifinals there. Should have beat Wesley, but I didn't. This year, I think it's going to be similar to that. I just need to get it done, but I'm feeling good for it. I'm really excited, really buzzing for it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you mentioned that run at the World Masters this time last year, getting to the semi-finals, coming very close to making that final as well. So what was that experience like, going deep in one of the big events that the WDF has?
It was great and horrible, actually. That was my birthday too, and I'm kind of notorious for, I'll just tell you, I'm kind of notorious for not always knowing like the format. Like I thought I won it at 5. Like if you look back at the game on YouTube or just whatever, like I turn around as if like that moment where like, oh, thank God it's over. I got it done at 5-2. But then it's like, no, it's race to 6. And there's that moment of just like, shit, I'm just like, and then you got to reignite these fires. And I ended up just kind of, he started playing well, and I didn't get it done. And it was like, that was probably my worst loss ever, I think, as far as I can, the one I remember. I don't remember a lot of them. I try to move on, but that's one that's like never again kind of thing,
Well, hopefully you can go a little bit further at the Lakeside, because we've got 3 Americans in the men's field. Jim Widmeyer in the opposite half, but quite close to you in the draw is Leonard Gates, a late call-up for the tournament, a potential last game.
He'll be my second game, wouldn't he? I think, if assuming I do my job, he does his job, we meet the next round, I think. If I'm correct, I'm not totally sure, which is unfortunate that, but... No, I mean, just because it's like, what are they, 2 Americans immediately? I guess it is later rounds, but it's like, come on. Could have waited a bit to see him or any other American at that point,
Well, we know that for you, the main goal is to try and get that tour card, join the PDC Tour full time. But regardless of how you do at Lakeside, is that the plan for next year, or have you not thought that far ahead yet?
Yeah, no, I mean, I love what the WDF is doing, and obviously I kind of grew up with Buddy Bartoletta, who's like the VP. He's always been, my first time to England actually for the BDO Masters was with him as ADO president, which is the American Darts Organization, and he kind of chaperoned me in a sense and was there looking after me, and I have a lot of history with him, and just like, I really love what they're doing with the WDF. But yeah, obviously I'll be back in Milton Keynes, and I think that my game's at a different level than it's ever been, and by living here, it's really got me. Usually I fly in for Q school, but now I'm like here, so I'll be here. I think that's going to make a difference this time.
Definitely. And lastly, before we let you go, we've seen you say that when you play darts, sometimes it's like a Rocky movie. There's been some ups and downs these last few years. But what would a title like the Lakeside mean to you, given all the sacrifices that you've made being over here in the UK?
Oh, man, that's a world title. That would make me a world champion. And you can't take that away from somebody. I know it's not a PDC world title, but it's still a world title. And it's still prestigious, and it's one of those like bucket list type events. Lakeside's like, I grew up watching that stuff. Like that's like one of the most prestigious kind of events. And hats off to the WDF for making that work still and having it going on. But that would mean the world to me. That would be very satisfying. That's what I'm working for. So yeah.
Danny, thanks very much for taking the time, and all the best for Lakeside and what else is to come in 2023 as well.
Cheers, mate. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again to Danny for joining us, and we'll finish up the show with some predictions. I want one name for the men's and women's tournaments, who lifts the titles a week on Sunday, and also give me one name, a dark horse for the men's and women's events as well.
Well, I think we both hinted at who we were going to pick earlier for at least the women's. And I even though I do think Lisa Ashton is playing some really good darts right now, and she absolutely could beat Beau Greaves in the final, I just think Beau is the class of this field, and she's not going to get nervous trying to defend her title. She's not or at least if she does, it's not going to affect her performance. I don't expect it to. And she's not going – I just don't see her getting beat here. I think she's going to average, even when she's off, north of 80, and that will win most of these matches, especially when they become semifinals, best of 5, best of 7. And I think we're going to see her more often than not averaging north of 90. She knows how to lift her game when she needs to. You know, her 85 average over the course of the year in the women's series isn't because she's an 85 player. It's because a lot of times she only needs to average 75 to win 4-0 against the weaker players in the field, when she has to average 93, when she has to average 98, when she has to take out a 3-figure outshot with a spot in the World Championship on the line, like she did against Fallon Sherrick a little over a year ago. She does, because she is the best player. She's going to win the title again. As far as dark horse in the field, I don't know how much of a dark horse Mayumi Uchi would be, but I think I have to tip her as the dark horse. You know, last year in the World Masters, she made it all the way to the semifinals. We didn't know who she was back then, and we do now as a result of that run. But it wasn't just that she made the semifinals. She came within a leg of beating Beau Greaves. She beat Beau Greaves in another event that weekend. She showed that she, like Beau Greaves, can play up to her opponent. She can lift her game. And I could see her, you know, going all the way to the final. I think she is good enough. She has a tough draw, especially if she goes against Lisa Ashton in the quarterfinals. But she's definitely my dark horse. As far as the men's event goes, I mean, the top seed deserves to be the top seed. And maybe that's all I need to go on. You know, Andy Baetens, with all of his ranking titles, all of his success this year, the fact that he was able to go an entire tournament, one of the biggest tournaments in the WDF circuit, averaging north of 90 every single match en route to the title, shows that he is a class above most of the people in this field. That said, it just takes one match to lose. And, you know, Sebastian Bielecki, a potential second round tie, his first match awaits. I mean, Bielecki was in the PDC World Championship last year, where he nearly knocked out Jim Williams, who, spoiler alert, is going to be my dark horse for the PDC World Championship when we get to that show next week. You know, Bielecki's a very good player. He absolutely could beat Andy Baetens 3-0 in their first match. But I think Andy Baetens is the most likely, and I want to be right for a change. I'm going to go Andy Baetens to win it. As far as dark horse, I mean, maybe it should be Bielecki. But, you know, there's a few other names that come to mind. Sean McDonald in this field has had a fairly good few months. Thomas Junghans, the Swiss player, has also been a player who's been getting a few good results as of late. I mean, I think everyone's really a dark horse. There's really not a heavy favorite here. They're all about the same. Why not James Richardson as well, a player who, you know, we've seen make it to the last 16 of the PDC World Championship, make it to back-to-back European Championships just based on the fact that he kept qualifying for Euro Tours. There's a lot of players who could go for that, being called the dark horse in the field. But really, the way the odds are, they're all dark horses.
Can't argue with that. Well, I'll start off with the women's draw as you did, and no surprises like you. I'm going to go for Beau Greaves to become a two-time world champion. We've spoken about her at length earlier on in the show. Can anyone stop her? And this year, I don't think anyone can. And as for a dark horse, I wouldn't class her as a dark horse because she's made the final 2 times before, and she's won on the women's series, and she's beaten Beau a few times in the last couple of years. But at 22-1 with the bookies, the 4th favourite, Rhiannon O'Sullivan, I'm going to tip her as my dark horse because I like her quarter of the draw. I think she makes the semi-finals, where in all likelihood it is going to be Beau Greaves waiting for her in best of 5 sets. That's going to be an exciting match to watch, and I've backed Beau to win the whole thing, but I do think Rhiannon is one of her biggest tests standing in her way, and I expect them to play each other. So that's why Rhiannon is going to be my dark horse for the ladies event. And as for the men's, this is tricky, and looking at the draw, the prospect of a Jelle Klaasen, Danny Lauby quarterfinal, that does excite me. I'm not 100% confident that it's going to come off, but if it does, I'm going to nail my colours to the mast. I'm going to say the winner of that match wins the whole thing. Do I back the former champion, or do I go for the debutant and to make you happy, Burton? And I'm just thinking of the pace that match is going to be played at as well, by the way. That's going to be blink and you miss it. But I'm going to go for yellow. That match with Danny Lauby is going to go all the way to a last set, and I think just his added stage experience is going to get him over the line this time. And as I say, I think yellow wins that game, and then he goes all the way and wins the title. And as for my dark horse, I'm going to go to the opposite half of the draw, going to go into that top half. And you mentioned him earlier, actually, in one of our questions, talking about players in this event. And at 66-1, Peter Machin, as you said, making his World Championship debut. We've not seen him on our TV screens for a while. You go back to the very first year we did this podcast, and he was winning the World Trophy in the BDO, playing in the Grand Slam as well. I think we actually had him on the show that year as well, but 6 years ago now. But looking at the players that he beat to win that World Trophy, Gert de Vos, Scott Mitchell, Martin Adams, Wesley Harms, Martin Phillips, that's quite a run to the title. And it's a shame that we've not seen him in a World Championship sooner than this. I thought we might have seen him in one, especially after winning that World Trophy, but he's here now. He's at the Lakeside. Not sure what his form is going to be like, but just going off what he's done in the past, and he has got himself to the tournament this year. I think he's going to be able to spring a surprise or two at the Lakeside, go deep in the tournament, and that's why he's going to be my dark horse.
Well, we'll see whether any of our picks or dark horses have a good tournament, and we'll all look forward to seeing Beau Greaves lift her second world title, even though we jinxed her. But anything else for this week?
Well, I've got to say, as always, thanks to our guests for joining us on the show, to Beau, to Andy and Danny for their time. Thank you to our sponsors, to Darts Corner, Condor Darts, for their continued support. Go and check them out. Links in the description. Thanks to everyone for listening. As we mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to be back in just a few days' time to look back on the Players' Championship finals. We'll also be reacting to the draw for Ali Pally as well. We should also have some Dynamite Darts content from our long-time friend of the show, Matthew Kiernan. He's going to be at the launch for the PDC World Championships on Monday today when you're listening to this. So lots to look forward to. Until then, enjoy Lakeside. And as I always say, enjoy the darts.
Yeah, there's no hanging tight anymore. Just enjoy the darts. Everything you said there. I guess next week we'll recap the Players' Championship final. We'll maybe do a little bit more talking about Lakeside, but more than anything, we'll start talking about the PDC World Championships. So hang tight for that. But while you're hanging tight for that, enjoy the darts.